I've got to make it interesting.
I think we've made it interesting enough. Hello and welcome back to Pretenders Session. If you've come back, then I assume you have a similar opinion to me and Sam.
Yeah, because
or you have no opinion.
Yeah. I mean, if you love the Pretenders and you watched our album ranking and have come over here, you've come here with an agenda. and I'm
Let's keep it civil.
I'm scared of you.
We're trying to be respectful, and luckily, as we've talked about on, if any of you remember, the infamous Elliott Smith discography ranking,
the
songs video was much more positive because you were talking about songs you liked.
Exactly.
And hopefully we'll be able to channel that. So
let's get on to it.
Sam, the way we do this is that we will individually, because it's an album ranking of 10 or more albums, somehow.
Much to my surprise.
We will list off 11 through 20 very sort of bluntly, just say what song they are, what album they're from. And then once we get to the top 10, we'll do a bit more analysis and looking at why we have ranked these so high. So, Sam, I'll leave the floor to you for 20 through 11.
Right, okay, so my number 20, coming in from last of the Independents, it's Love Colours, just making the list. My number 19 from Learning to Crawl, it's Timely Avenger. Number 18 from Loose Screw is You Know Who Your Friends Are. Number 17 from Pretenders 2 is Waste Not Want Not. My number 16 from Viva El Amor is Dragway 42. My number 15 from Hate for Sale is You Can't Hurt a Fool. My number 14 is not actually from an album, but is Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Oh, you little cheat.
Yeah, but it came from the single from 2009.
Maybe I should have included that.
So, I managed to sneak that one in to make it my life a little bit easier. My number 13 from the debut is Mystery Achievement. Back to back from the debut is Space Invader at number 12. And my number 11, just missing out on an explanation, is I'll Stand By You from Last of the Independents.
Rightio. My 20 through 11, my number 20 is I'll Stand By You from Last of the Independents. Right. I will do a little bit of spiel about this because similarly to Genesis, this is kind of like a with Supper's Ready, where I gave it the slot of you deserve to be on this list even if you're not one of my absolute favourites. So that's kind of what I've done here.
That's what your number 20 is for.
Yeah, 19 is May This Be Love from Pact. 18 is Blue Eyed Sky from Alone. 17 is Biker from Viva El Amor. 16 is Never Be Together from Alone. Also, 15 is the cover Thin Line Between Love and Hate from Learning to Crawl. 14, to Sam's bemusement, is Break Up the Concrete from Break Up the Concrete. 13 is Death Is Not Enough from Alone again.
Wow.
Which has got 3 in the sort of 11 to 20. Number 12, First Match is Mystery Achievement from Pretenders.
Right.
And I've also got back-to-back from that album, but my number 11 is the cover from The Kinks, apparently.
Yeah, Stop Your Sobbing.
So,
right.
There we go. I will say, I won't say that. I'm just going to piss more people off. So,
oh, please.
I'll tell you off camera.
Okay. Okay. Right, my number 10. Managing to get I'll Stand By You, which is the song I knew before going in, off of the top 10. It's My City Was Gone from Learning to Crawl, which I actually really enjoyed. I think it was really interesting and quite, that's about as much as my critique has to offer. I think the sound is quite dark and brooding, and I don't want to use the word bluesy, but I kind of got a bit of a blues vibe from it. And her singing about Ohio and how it's changed. I don't know. There was something really interesting about it, and I found it quite a cool
sort of American
tune.
South vibe.
Yeah. I found, even though Ohio's in the northeast.
Yeah, but the sound of the song, I mean.
I know. It's an interesting song, and believe you me, it was difficult to find interesting songs. So. That's how come this got into the top 10.
Okay, I'm gonna keep being nice. My number 10 is the live song that closes Pact. I'm not going to shout it again.
Pact! I will.
It's Criminal.
Yeah, I saved that one.
It's a live track with a big string section. Has a cool atmosphere to it because obviously it's a different sort of ambience to the rest of the album. I think it closes the album very well. It's very sweet and it's a nice song.
Exactly. My number 9, coming in from Hate for Sale, is I Didn't Want to Be This Lonely, which I'd heard on the radio and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. I wonder what the album's like. And I actually did enjoy the album, so maybe that song helped it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's quite reminiscent of some of their earlier stuff. I think the song is doing a lot, and I think given that she's about 70 at the time of recording, I think you got to commend the fact that she can still sing in the same way that she could before.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't know, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference from the time that she was singing in her peak and to now, apart from the quality of the albums.
Yeah.
I do think that I Didn't Want to Be This Lonely is a sign that she hasn't completely lost it. I think it's very reminiscent of the time that they were producing the really good stuff. Obviously you didn't think that the album produced that much, and nor do I kind of agree, but I think I Didn't Want to Be This Lonely gives the album merit almost on its own.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's how come that's managed to get there.
My number 9 was a song I pointed out when we were talking about our number 1 albums, and it is from Learning to Crawl, obviously, and it is Show Me, which I sort of put as like the sort of the ABBA sort of vibe in the vocal line and the vocal performance, which I think is quite cool. And then you get a really cool funky guitar part, and then Chrissy just soars up with her vocals. It's just very cool. I think it's one of the better sort of deep cuts, if you want to call it that, of the entire discography. It's got a great feel, and it fits really well to end the first side on the album. So yeah, it's my number 9.
Cool. My number 8 is from Learning to Crawl as well. There's I Hurt You, which I think is another one of those songs that's darker. I think she does quite well with the dark, even though I like her slower stuff as well. But when the songs have meaning, when I think that they're going really dark and they have a certain message, I think Chrissy Hynde can really pull it off. And I think Learning to Crawl is an album that has both sides really used really effectively. And I think I Hurt You it's a deeper cut from the album, and I think it's really good. I think it's very strong. I really love the lyricism. The way the song opens just hooks you in straight away. I really like some of the more synthetic guitar sort of sound. I think that the album is really good with the guitar work, and I think that I Hurt You does a similar sort of thing. I think it carries the torch quite well. So
that's fair. My number 8 was from an album I had controversially low, but you joined me on that controversy because it's Pretenders 2.
Right.
And it's Talk of the Town, which I think is very comfortably the best song on the album. I didn't even consider another song on it, to be honest. Has some really nice subtle synths in the chorus. It's about 2.5 minutes, so it's nice and short. It's catchy, doesn't outstay its welcome. It's got a good sound. One of the better sort of band, I sort of mentioned the band feel of Learning to Crawl and how I sort of thought it was a bit superior actually to the lineup they had before. And I think this song is where they sort of get to show off the sort of the chemistry of the band and how they play together quite well and interplay. So yeah, Talk of the Town, very good song, and it lands at number 8 for me.
Okay. My number 7 is from Get Close, which is Him to Her.
Yeah, I considered that one.
Yeah, it's a nice slow ballad. Hasn't got as much replay from me as some of the songs higher up in the list, but that must make sense. It's a nice song. There's something really slow about it. I mean, the album Get Close in general is quite bouncy. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of energy in it, and it is quite nice to have it slow down for a little while. And I think it is quite catchy for a slow song, and I think it's really sweet.
Definitely sweet, yeah. So my number 7 now, right?
Yeah.
My number 7 is Boots of Chinese Plastic, the opening track from Break Up the Concrete. I mentioned that I consider this a classic Pretenders song, which might be a bit controversial. But I think it's great. I think it's got a great swagger and attitude to it. I think Chrissy's vocals on this are very playful and fun. And there's sort of that sort of more Americana acoustic sound to it, but it still has a lot of momentum to it. So I don't know, I think it's sort of got a very unique vibe within the discography, and I actually, it was one of my big takeaways from the entire thing, because a lot of these after now I knew already. So that was one of, I think, my second favourite of ones I didn't know going in. So
nice.
I really do enjoy that song. So.
My number 6 might get me a little bit of controversy for not having it higher. From Learning to Crawl, it's Back on the Chain Gang. Great song. It
Yeah.
really is. Fantastic song. A lovely tribute to James Honeyman Scott. It's often said that it's a tribute to James Honeyman Scott. I think it's quite interesting that they're not paying tribute also to Pete Farndon. But that's not my place to comment on that.
Yeah.
Just an observation of mine.
Yeah.
Besides which, even if you don't take in the context, like you said, it's a song that can be interpreted in more ways than one. It's not just about grief. It can be about love and sort of being without something, you know. I think that it's very catchy. I think the guitar work on that is exemplary, and you can really feel the emotion. Chrissie Hynde does put her all into the song, and the vocals are very strong, and the chorus, it's very catchy. You can it's simple. That's how things get in your head. And I was back on the train. Hey, I love the guitar. The guitar really is a standout on the song. So
and on the album as a whole, like it's really well played.
Yeah.
Same album for me at number 6, and it is the opening track, Middle of the Road. I mentioned it sort of there's a lot of just bite and momentum to it, and that harmonica part is super cool. Sort of differentiates it from a lot of their other songs in a way. And I think the first time I heard, because obviously I knew it before going in, and the only song I knew going in I think was 2,000 Miles. I don't think I even knew Back on the Chain Gang. I might have done, but when I heard this, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in for a good ride. And it doesn't quite sustain that all the way through, but mostly does. And I think Middle of the Road is definitely a Pretender song I hold in very high regard, and it doesn't quite make top 5, unfortunately.
I know, yeah. Well, I was quite surprised that Back on the Chain Gang didn't make top 5 either, but this is the world we live in.
Shows that we do at least like the Pretenders in some way.
Yeah, maybe people should watch this video first.
Maybe,
and only if they want us to, if they want to like hold us in high esteem, if they also love the Pretenders.
Yeah.
My number 5, coming from the debut, it's Brass in Pocket, which
That's
is
a match.
Very good, very catchy song.
Yeah,
and it's quite motivational. I think there's something very confident about it.
Oh yeah,
you can really feel, but it's not obnoxious. No. Weirdly,
again, it's the swagger and the
and I think that it's definitely helped by the melody of it, that the guitar on that.
It's a very iconic riff.
Yeah.
Again, if you don't think you've heard it, you definitely have.
You have.
Yeah.
And it's worth listening to, even if you haven't, which you have. I really
maybe if you live in Tristan da Cunha, you haven't heard it.
Maybe. Shout out to Tristan da Cunha if you're watching. It's a good song. It's great. I think it's a good reason for Pretenders to be famous. And I do listen to it quite a bit. It's one of those songs that they play on the radio a fair amount. It's a good song. Strong song.
If it was on the radio, I would never skip it. It'd feel sacrilegious.
Well, you can't.
Yeah.
It's on the radio.
Well, I wouldn't turn over. So, my number 4. From an album sounded like...
You're on number 5, aren't you?
No, we just matched.
Oh,
it's your number 4. Yeah, sorry. It's your number 4.
Yeah.
Because my number 5 is Brass in Pocket.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Do you have anything to say about Brass in Pocket?
I just like it. No, it's got a very iconic riff. What I like about it, I guess, in the context of that album, is that it's a bit slower, but not in sort of a dirgy way. It's sort of mid-tempo. Yeah. But the riff is so sort of captivating. You sort of just nodding your head along.
Like you said, you got that swagger.
Yeah. It's a very cool song.
It is. Yeah. It really is. My number 4 from Get Close. It's Don't Get Me Wrong. Which is very, very catchy. I love the melody on it. I love the keys on it. Da, 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 da. And I don't really know the lyrics very well of it. When I really like a song, I tend to learn them, but I feel like it's one of those songs that I've known for so long, I think I just sing along without even thinking about what it's saying. But I think it's a nice song. It's definitely dealing with the idea of love. Even if it's a bit of a nuanced view of it. I don't think it's clear cut whether they're saying that love's good or love's bad. I think it's sort of working with the pros and cons of it. And the music video is great. It's got guy from the Avengers in it, Patrick. I don't know what his real name is. Patrick McGee. No one's going to catch me out on this. The Avengers are from the TV show.
Not the Avengers 60s. You're thinking of.
No. Not the famous one. It was a TV show in the 1960s where this guy who played a character called Steed, I think, went around and I don't even know if it was solved crimes. But I digress. He's in the music video, but don't get me wrong, and there's something very charming about how like, for some reason, she's pretending to be in the Avengers in the music video.
Right.
And she's like racing to get to him. And she has all of these different obstacles. And at the end, they get there. And it has absolutely nothing to do with the subject matter of the song. But I guess I get that kind of chaotic energy from Chrissie Hynde, which I do greatly admire. So, yeah, I think putting it together, it makes for a very fun experience, both audibly and visually. So, yeah, don't get me wrong. Just misses out on mental position.
As I had begun saying before I realised I'd gotten confused, my number 4 is from an album that Sam doesn't like. It's from Pact. My favourite song from Pact is Sense of Purpose.
Right.
A real sense of purpose now. I just think this is a great anthem. I love the subject matter. It's, again, Chrissie Hynde at her best does the sort of the simple songwriting well. And the chorus just give me a sense of purpose, a real sense of purpose now. And I just related to it quite a bit. I was just like, yeah, someone give me a sense of purpose.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah,
wouldn't that be a great idea?
So yeah, and it also has a lovely like sound to it. The guitar part is really lovely, and I think it's a true hidden gem. Even if people don't like Pact, I think you should go back to that song because I think it's proper job.
Proper job song. Don't think I saved it.
Yeah.
Right, bronze medal for me. Coming in from the debut, it's Stop Your Sobbing. Which I do think is better than the cover. I think it's very interesting. I think that it's very catchy. Obviously, you can't credit the songwriting to it, but just like with Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, I think Chrissie Hynde takes it and makes it her own. The band does. The band takes it and makes it her own. The instruments are all working together. The chorus is so catchy, and her vocals really lend itself to the song. I first discovered the song a very long time ago when it was the trailer music for a very obscure film starring Will Ferrell and Emma Thompson, if you can believe that combination, called Stranger Than Fiction. And I knew the song and I really liked it, but I didn't find it until over a decade later when I started exploring around Pretenders, and I found it and I was like, oh my god, that's a Pretenders song. Just like I said at the start of the album video, which I would recommend you watch in any other circumstance.
Well, no, I think it's an entertaining ride.
If you're not too emotionally invested in discography, go and watch that. It is fun. And I mentioned that I discovered songs were Pretenders songs, even though I already knew them, far later down the line, and that's one of them. And I'm so glad I did, because it's one of the reasons why I love the Pretenders is that song. But it's only a bronze, so you can tell the last two are pretty special.
Yep. So I forgot to mention with Sense of Purpose, that was my favourite of my new discoveries for this. So the top 3 were songs I knew already.
That's all.
Which happens a lot, I feel like. Even on discographies I end up really enjoying. The songs you either like them as much as you did, and that was the reason why you wanted to get into them, or hearing them in the context of the discography and the artist's growth made you like them even more.
Yes.
So my number 3, it's already come up for you. It's Back on the Chain Gang. Maybe a lot of people would have this at number 1, just because of the sentiment, the context, and also the fact that it's an absolute banger. It's been covered by so many people. I know Morrissey has done a cover of it, which why would you listen to that? Morrissey talk is for another day. I think it's just a classic song for a reason. We've talked about it a lot already. The sentiment and the guitar riff, just amazing. I realised how long that guitar riff was to make audible, but it is. If you've never heard Back on the Chain Gang, which to be fair I'd never had before I heard the album, definitely give it a listen. So, but like you, it's only at bronze because there's 2 very special songs coming up. My silver medal is actually a new discovery. It was one that I heard for the first time going in, and it was from Get Close. My baby. Which it really set me up for Get Close, and it probably gave me a lot of bias, but also a lot of criticism when I didn't like some parts of it. When it came on, I was really surprised, and I am still surprised that I hadn't heard it before, because it was a single. I think it's a really strong song. I think it works well as an opener too.
And melodically it's really catchy and it carries it on, and I think the guitar work on that, it carries over from Learning to Crawl. It's doing a different thing, it's going a little bit more 80s pop with it, but I thought it was really good. And I think, yeah, where it comes in and goes, come on, come on, come on, show me. That's my favourite part of the song, that part. And then when it comes in with the guitar solo. And the ending, I really enjoyed as well. Like, we're locking on stage, and that part with that is like, yeah, I thought that was really cool. And it made me go, oh, wow. And when the song does that,
Quite
you
an
know
interesting
it's
song
hit you.
structurally.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not very basic.
And you gotta give credit for them doing something different. It's not too structured, not heavily structured. I think it's a fun song, and I really highly recommend it. But there's one song left that I recommend even more.
My number 2 is 2,000 Miles from Learning to Crawl. I mean, I love it. It's my favourite song on that album. It's got such a sentimental feel. It has that Christmassy feel because of the guitar tone, and the guitar riff I feel is very Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because of my experience with Christmas, knowing that that's a Christmas song.
Yeah.
It might be like a two-way thing, but I don't know. It just very much it reminds me of Christmas in a lot of ways. But at the same time, it doesn't. It's not too upfront about it. And it doesn't have Christmas in the title, which was something we talked about on the Christmas songs video. And I think it's just a lovely vocal performance. And it's also, I don't know, this might be me reading too much into it, but maybe this could also be interpreted as something with James Honeyman Scott as well. I mean, sort of 2,000 miles is sort of like a inconceivable amount of space.
Far.
Yeah, space between people. So I don't know, maybe it's also something about grief. That might be me looking too far into it. I think
it actually is. I think it's been said that it was about him too.
So, lovely little song. Got a great sort of, again, like Brass in Pocket, it's a bit more mid-tempo, which I've mentioned is kind of where I like Chrissie Hynde a bit more, generally speaking. But 2,000 Miles is my number 2. I think it's really great. Love it.
We nearly synced up.
Yeah, we nearly did.
It's my gold. I love it. I absolutely love it. I
remember for the end of year ranking all our number 1 songs that's going to be on there.
Yeah, it's just every time we sum something up, it's 2,000 Miles is going to come up in one context or another.
Yeah, exactly.
I think 2,000 Miles is beautiful, and that's how come I can justify listening to a Christmas song any time of the year.
In January.
Yeah, because I think above all else it's a love song. Whether or not it's a romantic love or a platonic love, if we do read it into as an interpretation of the loss of Honeyman Scott, who clearly they had a great deal of affection for, it's like you said, it feels inconceivable because 2,000 miles it's very far, but it's a sort of distance where it's like it's far enough for it to be hard.
Yeah,
that's something that's pretty much out of reach. It's certainly not anywhere in the UK. You'd have to go around in circles a few times to manage to get a distance of 2,000 miles to go anywhere. It's, I think, so sweet. Just the fact that it's set around Christmas, I don't think makes it a Christmas song. I think, in my opinion, it makes it a song where Christmas is part of it, not that it is Christmas. People come together at Christmas. So it's like the song is looking forward to it. And I think if you listen,
as a distraction.
Yeah, exactly. It's something. It's like your end goal. Eventually, you're gonna come back to that person who you were separated from, and I think it's something that isn't touched on that much. I don't think in my music discovery. I don't think it's a subject that really comes up in this sort of way, where you have this separation in one form or another, whether it's the literal 2,000 miles of distance, or whether it's being separated between life and death, like working together, and this idea of an end goal of coming back together, and then at the end it feels quite victorious because it's Christmas time. It must be Christmas time, and then but it's not necessarily. It must be. It's not. It is Christmas time.
Yeah.
And that's like this thing. It's like, is this the moment when you come back together? And you don't really know for certain whether that is the point of union within the singer, the speaker, if you like, and the person they're talking about. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Yeah, 2,000 miles. It's very far.
Yeah.
I love that song.
It's a very poignant song.
Yeah.
But still, it's not too. It's more of a source of comfort rather than being depressing.
Exactly. Yeah. And as you can tell by my ramble, it means a lot to me.
Yeah, my number 1, you probably know what's coming. Don't Get Me Wrong from Get Close. And I think this is quite the thing, because usually for me, I sort of noticed a pattern a while ago where my number one songs are usually from either my number one album or thereabouts. Genesis broke that rule with Ripples, which is from my number 6 album or something
it's quite
like
low
that.
down there, really.
And this is from my number 8 of 11. So obviously you can see why I was so upset at the rest of the album. Sounded nothing like this. This is sort of skiffle beat influenced, sort of has a nice sort of momentum to it. The guitar tone is beautiful. It's not 80s at all, which is probably why I got on with it so well.
It's timeless.
And that sort of strummed guitar beat is great, but you mentioned the lead guitar parts are great as well. Sort of give it so much sort of texture and flavour, which I really do appreciate in the song. But at its core, it is just a brilliant bit of songwriting. I mean, not as much as maybe 2,000 Miles or Back on the Chain Gang, but in terms of like catchiness and memorability, like you said, I'm the same. I've never really sat down and looked at the lyrics maybe like I have with Back on the Chain Gang or 2,000 Miles, but whenever it comes on, I know every word and I know every part. And there's a reason for that, because it is just a perfectly crafted pop song. And yeah, it's a true masterpiece, I would say. So you can't say that about many songs.
No. See, Pretenders fans, we pulled it together in the end.
Yeah. Yeah. So overall thoughts, disappointed. I think maybe you're more disappointed than me, because I wasn't really expecting too much. I was waiting to like it more than this, but yeah. But I don't know. I'm glad. Like I mentioned with Boots of Chinese Plastic and Sense of Purpose and Talk of the Town and Criminal, plenty of songs that I will listen to again and enjoy that I wouldn't have known without doing this ranking.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely we're going to do a couple short ones next.
Yes.
We've actually decided.
This was a bit of a task for both of us.
We've decided off air between doing these that, as well as the Cardigans, which is going to be 6 albums, we're going to do The Beat, or the English Beat if you're American, because there was a power pop band called The Beat who had
over there.
Yeah, so we call them The Beat.
Yeah.
Which is going to be confusing. Dave Wakeling and Ranking Roger, importantly.
Yes, indeed.
They only have 3 albums, so that should be coming. Again, not the most popular maybe, but maybe we'll be able to get some cool discoveries out of it, and they're quite short, concise discographies. So.
Yeah, certainly shorter than this.
Yeah. I mean, combined, they're less.
Even
than
shorter than I thought this was.
Yeah. But thank you very much for watching.
Yes, thank you.
And we will be back hopefully soon with some more.